Welcome back, folks. Horsemanship 101 again, and I want to talk about, as I like to do in my videos, recent events, things that have happened to me. I like to share my story, because I think this one is really relevant, a really good one. I've talked before about how it takes little pieces to make up big pictures. Well, there's a reverse thing that happens too. It's called breaking things down into manageable pieces that you can work with. I'll get to the story in a second. As some of you might know, I do liberty work with my horses. I am kind of fond of playing around with them. And these two characters here, I've had them for a little while now. And one of the many things that we do is a tandem free lunging. And the only video evidence of that one is actually a very old video. It was the very, very first time I ever did it. Although I did do a horsemanship video a while ago where I added a third horse because I thought, hey, if individually it works, three should work. So I did it, and it worked fairly well. And considering that was the first time I'd ever tried it, I thought it did pretty good. And it was all about, the individual horses knew what they were doing, and so asking them to do it together wasn't a big deal. And the other horse that I used, it wasn't one of mine, but it was one that was well known to the other two. They'd been in the arena together here, and they are in the pasture together. So, and he was a different personality, so that worked not bad. Now, because I'd tried it once before and it worked, I thought I'd try it again. The one on the right here, this is my new girl. Her name's Jean, and we've been playing around with her a bit and thought we'd throw her into the mix and see what happened. Well, as it turned out, it didn't work well at all because Molly in particular, she's a little jealous, and I don't know what her problem is, but she was always pinning her ears and pushing Jean out of the way while I was trying to get her into place. So I don't blame it on Jean at all. She was actually doing pretty good. She was trying hard. And I was thinking after a while, this is not going to work. I got to break it down into little pieces that I can work on until I can put them back together again and take the little pieces and make a big picture. So that's what we had to do. And, well, obviously managing three horses at once just wasn't working. So we broke it down into two horses at a time. First, we did those two. That actually proved the bigger challenge because of that one, not because of the new girl. She was actually really good. That one, she's a problem sometimes, but we brought the two of them in, just the two of them, and worked them together. First, got them standing beside each other because that was a manageable thing to do. I had a halter on both of them and a lead on both of them. Then we had them take a couple steps, then walk around the arena, and so on and so forth. And I'll insert a little clip here of what the end result was. At the start. Wasn't perfection yet. It's got a long ways to go, but it was good. I was happy with it. Anyhow, after that, we replaced her with the little girl. Well, it turns out that once we get rid of the bad influence, the little girl actually wasn't a problem. She wasn't trying to push on Jean at all anymore. And the two of them actually worked extraordinarily well together, almost as good as those two. They were keeping their places perfectly. I could change directions with them and everything. It was quite marvelous. So we broke it down into manageable pieces. We had to break it down even further with that one because, just because of her personality and the problems that we were having with her, and worked on that. Working with that one was actually pretty easy. We didn't have to break it down much after that. Just having the two of them together worked quite well. That one there, she's the troublemaker. But anyhow, so I broke it down both with that one, and then that one and that one. And individually, they required to do things a little bit differently. We had to break it down a different level. And then eventually, once we get all those parts working, we're going to be able to take them and reassemble them all back together again and make that big picture, because the first one that we tried making, it wasn't very pretty. So hopefully when we get all the pieces put back together, we're going to have a real nice big picture here. That's what I'm shooting for. But I wanted to share that because it was just such a great example of how you got to break things down. Sometimes it's kind of the reverse of taking all your very little basic pieces, putting them together to make bigger pictures. In this case, we actually had to break it down in order to make it into a manageable pieces that we could actually work with and figure out where our problem was and address it and such and such. I don't think it's quite squared away just yet, but we've made some significant progress on it, and you know, I think in the future all three of these are going to be able to work together quite well. This one here, though, she still actually needs a little bit of work, as you just saw her creeping up on me a little bit. That's not cool. The other two are staying back where I put them. Yeah, one more thing to work on. No big deal. That's actually pretty small. She's still relatively respectful. She doesn't get right in my face unless I allow it. So anyhow, if you got a problem, you just do the opposite of creating great big pictures. You take that picture and you break it down into manageable little pieces that you can work on and address them that way. So that's how you solve problems. You know, just deal with what you can handle, or you know, break it down enough to find out where the problem actually is, whatever the case may be. But you know, if you got a really ugly big picture, don't bother trying to fix it. Break it down into pieces. Make it manageable. Make it something you can work with. And next thing you know, you're going to be able to put those pieces back together and you'll have a beautiful picture. There we go. There we go. Now we're talking. Okay, it ain't perfect, but we're getting there. We're getting there. That's what I like to see. And different horses doing ear pinning today. That is quite amusing. But, oh well, it's fun. Have a good day.